Folks, at the time of recording this, we just had a banner where Lord Phineas was alongside Zillatu and people could try pulling for it. So, I imagine a lot of you probably ended up getting him, and because of that, I am going to be doing a review or a showcase on him here today. Now, this video is going to go live quite a while after the banner. It's perfectly okay. This information will still be relevant. So, as you can see, he has very, very decent reviews pretty much everywhere inside the game, and we see this guy popping up a lot when there's any sort of boss content that needs beaten, or essentially just content where you have to do a lot of DPS. So let's go ahead and take a look at his skills, his build, test him out, all that sort of good stuff. Now, his talent: when an ally uses their ultimate, the hero gains 1 stack of Viscount Flame, which increases his crit damage by 25%, up to 5 stacks. So ladies and gentlemen, this is up to a 125% crit damage increase. Additionally, he grants crit damage increase to the ally if they belong to the Infernal Blast. So that's a 25% crit damage increase. Now, if we look at the Infernal Blast, there are, of course, a lot of other good DPS units inside this faction. So, for example, Lyra, we have Hex, we have the hero Nocturne, whose name I forgot apparently. We have Zillatu, we have Xena. We have a lot of even just good epic damage dealers. So there's a lot of really good damage dealers from this faction. So getting that increased crit damage is very, very nice. But keep in mind that it's whenever an ally uses their ultimate. So you can charge this up with things like Diao-chan switching forms. You can charge this up with healer ultimates, right? Auto ultimates. So like if you have an Airless, right? She's going to be charging it up as well, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, basic attack, he deals 120% damage to one enemy. He has a passive, or an auto rather, so a Blade of Treachery. So basic attack has a 25% chance to deal 270% damage and inflict stun. This chance doubles during the ultimate, which is pretty crazy. And he has another passive here, which is the Insidious Blaze. Increases penetration by 7% for each burning effect on the target, up to 7 stacks. So you can really see how you want to pair this guy with like a Zillatu or a Hex or something like that, right? Increases on his Devil's Den ultimate. He increases his attack by 50%, which is massive, by the way, and doubles the effect of Viscount's Flame gained by the hero while increasing attack range. So you can see his basic attack is just 1 tile. His ultimate extends 3 tiles out in front of him. Upon activation, deals 800% burst damage 1 time to 1 target in range, then changes to ranged attack. Removes all counts, or all stacks of Viscount's Flame from the hero when the ultimate ends, but he can obviously stack those back up pretty easily. So what's happening on Lord Phineas altogether? Well, he's a single target damage dealer who does absolutely huge numbers of damage, right? He increases his own crit damage when an ally uses an ultimate, and he can increase your ally's crit damage as well. Now, he also increases his own attack by a stupid 50%, right? Which is just obscene. So you want to take those things into consideration when we're building him. We'll go over the build here in just a second. I do have him A1, so A1 increases the base chance of Blade of Treachery by 5%. And Blade of Treachery can now inflict burning. So if you have him A1, this auto, which inflicts stuns and also burns, are going to mean that he's going to keep up the burns a decent amount of the time, right? Especially depending on his attack speed, because he has a 25% chance on every single basic attack. Now, with those burns, he's obviously going to have increased penetration as well, right? So penetration is basically just defense ignore. Let's go ahead and take a look at the A2. Attack plus 5%. A3, when an Infernal ally uses their ultimate, the talent switches to granting crit damage increase to them. Now, from my understanding, this would mean that you give crit damage increase to them. I'm going to be honest, I don't 100% understand the change. Let's go ahead and take a look at his talent again. So take a look at skills. Additionally, grants crit damage increase to the ally if they belong to the Infernal Blast. What changes on the A3? Infernal ally uses their ultimate. The talent switches to granting crit damage increase to them. Maybe they're just getting like the additional stacks. Not entirely sure on that. If somebody's a little bit smarter or tested him, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. But A4, penetration plus 8%. And A5, after the ultimate ends, there's a 50% chance to retain the Viscount's Flame. Now, his A5 is not incredibly strong because it's a chance base to retain. the Viscount's Flame, and he can also just stack those up pretty quickly again if you have like a Diao Chan or something like that, right? So it's definitely not crucial. Certainly wouldn't recommend using Soul Stones on this guy, but if you do happen to have a couple of copies of him, you can certainly get some pretty good awakenings. Now, in terms of the artifact, I do have the Mask of Dark Desire, which is his exclusive, and we'll actually go ahead and promo that because I just got another one. So at the level of promo we have, the following effect is going to be in place. So he increases damage against targets inflicted with burning by 22%. Basic attack inflicts 15% damage reduction on targets for 3 seconds, and Blade of Treachery inflicts 30% damage reduction on targets for 3 seconds. This is insane if you have his exclusive, and we do actually have a mythic artifact summoning kind of thing right now for his exclusive artifact, but this means that he can also replace like an Init or, you know, somebody like that who you're depending on bringing damage reduction. So you pair this guy with like a Pharisee or a Narissa, and you're going to have huge survivability in something like Semra, or certainly inside the Abyss guild boss as well. Now, in terms of the build, this is how I built him. 26, almost 27,000 attack. We have 321 on the speed, bringing him to a 1.6 interval, which means he's obviously always going to be keeping up that damage reduction. He has 112 and then 300 exactly on the crit rate and crit damage respectively, with 61.5% rage regen. So this is my Sun Wukong build directly ported over to him. Now, best in slot is, of course, going to be the Soulbound Arcana. If you don't have Soulbound Arcana, you could, of course, run him in something like Infernal Roar. Realistically, though, I think you'd be better off running him inside perhaps Cataclysm or Ageless Wrath if you don't have a suitable Soulbound Arcana build for him. Now, for the left-hand side, I do have some pretty good pieces here. So he's coming in with Wicked Vengeance. Wicked Vengeance, of course, is going to be pretty much best in slot for most late-game damage dealers. You can also, of course, run Warlord. Calamity, Annihilating Might, and Whirlwind would also be all very solid build options for him as well. Now, he is, of course, a fighter, so you can maybe go with a little bit more HP on him if you want as well. He has 30k base HP, which means his survivability is going to scale very well. I have not focused on it whatsoever, and I already have 54,000 HP. Now, this guy was absolutely huge for me in terms of beating the Infernal Faction Wars, so he definitely gets a lot of use there. We are going to go ahead and bring him in, though. We're going to test him with a Lord as well, so we're going to run him with Twin Fiend. We're going to bring him in with Diao Chan. We're going to bring in a Pharisee. And then we're also just going to bring in some sort of a rage regen unit like an Airless, right? So this will be a pretty good team here to really just see what he can do. We're not going to place the Twin Fiend. We're simply just bringing in Twin Fiend to give like the base stat increase and all those sorts of things. I've used Twin Fiend and Pyros both, and I do definitely like Twin Fiend, but I do think my preference is still Pyros if I'm being completely honest. Now, we'll go ahead and get everybody placed here. So exactly like this, right? Now, he does have the inspiration from Diao Chan, and he also has the invigoration essentially. So we do have the Wings of Grace on her. Now we're gonna go ahead and just fight through the boss here. I'm gonna pop his ultimate and just show you how much damage this guy is capable of doing. So he's gonna do that big burst, right? For it looked like 1.7 million if I seen that correctly. He's doing 500,000, he's doing 600,000. This guy is doing absolutely insane numbers to the boss. So by the time his ultimate ends, we're already sitting at over 10 million damage, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is very much a late game or, you know, borderline end game build for this guy. So you're really just looking for like higher awakenings if you need more power out of him. But that damage is still absolutely insane. Now, it's going to be kind of close if we can actually get the shield down here. There's also a very solid chance that we'll have his ultimate back by the time the shield is done. So let's go ahead and pop that. And boom, that big 800% is just enough to pop the shield, right? Like, we don't have to worry about it, so we can get two ultimates out by the time the first shield goes down on the dragon, which is pretty cool. And you can see 1.4 million on some of these hits is absolutely ridiculous. This guy is doing so goddamn much damage. It is absolutely insane. Now, let's go ahead and take a look. So we played just until the recovery of the dragon after the first shield, and he had 32 million damage dealt. Now, we're going to kind of try to amp him up a little bit here, right? So we're going to go ahead and just bring in some more enablers. So we are actually going to bring in both a Hex and a Zilla 2. So obviously they can both place burns, which are going to help to give him more penetration, so defense ignore, which will increase his damage. We're also going to place the Twin Fiend this time to really help focus on getting that shield down. So we're going to go ahead and place them. We're going to place the Diao-Chan, switch her over to Inspo. We're going to place the Twin Fiend, the Hex, the Airless, the Zilla 2, and then the Pharisee to kind of just keep everybody topped up like that. We are going to go ahead and pop all ultimates as soon as we're able. So you can see we already have a decent number of burning on. Already, though, Lord Phineas is off to quite a lead with 3.4 million damage dealt. Now, obviously, Zilla 2 and Hex are both going to be fairly similar in terms of where they land, I think. But keep in mind what sort of utility he's bringing for your team, right? So obviously, first of all, he has massive burst damage, and then additionally, he also brings the attack down. So as you can see, we have the damage decrease staying up on the boss very continuously there, which is going to allow us to survive so much longer if there's content we're struggling with where we're taking mass amounts of damage. So again, like Abyss 1, right? A lot of people are going to be trying to push through Abyss. Certainly if you have Lord Phineas, that's going to be a lot easier. And he does pop up in a decent number of the team compositions. Now, we don't quite have very many burns up there, but we have 34 million coming in. So we can definitely see like a little bit of an increase on his damage versus when we were just running him on his own, right? You can see we have a bunch of burns up there, which some are coming from him. We have his massive damage reduction as well, which is pretty insane, which is thanks to his exclusive artifact, of course, right? So you do kind of need that to get the full use out of him, but this guy is absolutely insane. Now, I'll go ahead and take him in somewhere like single target arena, so you guys can really get an idea of like just how useful he is in a place like that as well, and how good his burst damage is. So we're going to go ahead and test the single target here. We're then going to go ahead and find our Infernals. We're going to bring in Lord Phineas. We're going to bring in Twin Fiend again. I know Twin Fiend's not exactly an arena champion, but it is what it is. We're going to bring in a cost regener like Kane. And then we're going to bring in somebody with just, you know, as much BP as we can possibly get, right? So we're going to bring in like a Sithra, right? We're not really worried about deploying her or anything like that. We're simply just wanting somebody who has massive amounts of BP. Now, we're obviously not really going to be able to stop the enemies up here because we just don't have the builds for it. So we're going to go ahead and place Kane here. We're going to use him for his cost regen capabilities because, of course, Lord Phineas is pretty expensive at a 23 cost. So we're going to go ahead and just wait until we have him. And then we're going to go ahead and deploy him. So there we go. Boom. Now he is going to be able to go ahead and attack that enemy. We're also going to get our Diao-Chan placed down. She, of course, gives him the Wings of Grace buff, which is pretty nice. And there we go. We're already through the enemy. Certainly not like a Sun Wukong ultimate kind of quick or anything like that, but it was still pretty damn quick. Now, we're going to go ahead and wait until the enemy's in our range, and then as soon as we can, we're going to go ahead and pop it. So the enemy needs to be right here, right? And boom, there we go, and then you'll just see the huge burst. So 1.2 million damage. 1.2 million onto that guy. That is absolute insanity, ladies and gentlemen. Absolute insanity, right? We'll just go ahead and place down some other people here as well, just to kind of show you how quick a team like this can work. But 1.2 million is ridiculous business, right? Like, he has no business doing that level of damage. We're going to go ahead and charge him up with Twin Fiend here as well. Get the big slam in there. We're doing like 400k on his basic attack, which is just insane. This guy does so much damage. And anywhere that you need a boss or a tanky enemy to be just sat down and put in the dirt, Lord Phineas is going to be the option for you. Now again, will he do it as quick as like an A5 Sun Wukong or a Sithra or something like that? Certainly not, right? They're going to have ultimates that can take out enemies a little bit quicker. But when it comes to prolonged damage, especially in any sort of like boss content or anything like that, this guy is pretty much going to be the king of getting it done, right? So you can see we're just shredding people. Obviously, we have like Sithra and stuff in here doing some damage with her little summon as well, as you see right there. but at the end of the day, Lord Phineas is doing a ton too. So let's go ahead and take a look at the damage numbers here and just show you what that's all about. Obviously not interested in updating my auto fight, so Sithra was popping her ultimate to get rid of some of those enemies as well, but he still has like double her damage, which is so incredibly cool. Now, if you're struggling inside Semra, he's going to be incredibly useful there as well. Really, the one thing though that kind of holds him back these days is his faction membership. So unfortunately, due to him being part of the Infernals, he's not seeing as much use as he could. Not really sure why the world rankings aren't loading. As a matter of fact, the game just like froze, which is pretty cool. So thank you for that, Moonton. But the Infernals are definitely not as meta as they once were. We're now seeing more like cultists, we're seeing more arbiters, and we're seeing more esotericists, especially for PvE content. Now, I think I have to go ahead and probably relaunch the game here because it's just like completely frozen, though it looks to be responding now. It just took a while to load the world rankings, apparently. We're just going to scroll through, though. Can we find any sort of a Lord Phineas anywhere in here? Now, a smart man probably would have looked at this beforehand, but unfortunately I did not have a chance to, so we're looking through this together for the first time, just looking to see if we can find a Lord Phineas. But as you can see, we're really just getting overshadowed by like the Nastia team compositions, as well as like some Watcher team compositions for Semra. There's a lot of use of those these days, because that's just kind of where the easier strategies are. Now, if we go to the guild boss, and if we look at the Abyss, I'm sure you'll find Lord Phineas in here somewhere, though again, Infernal compositions are not what they used to be. So probably the best part of Infernal is going to be somebody like a Soul Cadence, just enabling him. Certainly if you have like a Soul Cadence along with like along with your Lord Phineas, it's going to make this a lot easier. But as you can see, for the most part, we're just seeing a lot of Watcher, a lot of Esotericist, all that sort of good stuff. Here we go. Here's the team composition. So we have Soul Cadence, Lord Phineas A2. As you can see, Lord Phineas is not doing a ton of damage, actually. I'm curious what kind of build he has on him. So he has 31,000 attack, and he has very, very good stats there. So that's surprising that he's not doing a crazy amount of damage. But then again, you're also taking an A2 against like an A2 Legendary Lord, also against A5 2 exclusive heroes, right? And he's still doing damage that's fairly decent. You also have an A5 Legendary Lord in Ingrid, and he's actually doing like very comparable damage to her. So that's certainly something to consider there, right? I hope you can see those damage numbers okay. My head's kind of in the way, but those are the damage numbers there. So Lord Phineas is certainly viable in like 9 out of 10 areas of the game. Just before I let you guys go, we are going to go ahead and give him a rating across the board here, essentially. So for Drakes, definitely a 5. For Faction, I think he's also going to be a 5. Titanic Ruins, also a 5, 100%. When we get to the Void Rift, same kind of thing there. Arena, he's going to be a 4, right? Artifact Material Rate, a 5. Arena, he's a 4 because he just really is too expensive, and he's not part of a faction that enables arena content. Immortal Codex, 5. Malric, probably a 4. He can do very good damage as well as taking out bosses, so I'm actually going to make him a 5 in hindsight. Tide, probably a 4. Gear Dungeon 2, this guy's absolutely going to be a 5. He can be your magic damage dealer, no problem. Guild Wars, probably about a 4. Tower of Deception, same thing. XP Raid, I'm going to give him a 5. Gear Dungeon 1, going to give him a 3 there. I don't really think he's a good value over replacement for a lot of other units, though he could be a blocker combined with damage dealer, so we'll probably give him a 4. Gold Raid, about a 4. Gear Raid 2, he can definitely be a 5. Gear Raid 1, he's going to be a 3 in my opinion. Arena AoE DPS, I'm going to give him a 2. Gear Raid 3, I'm going to give him a 1. You'd really only use him as your tank. And then obviously Arena Anti-Air, he has like absolutely no use. So those are kind of the ratings for this guy across the board. Let me know down below though, of course, if you use Lord Phineas anywhere inside the game, and more specifically where you do use him. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.